Recording too.
Okay, Commissioner Tellez, I believe that we have everything we need to get started. So whenever you're ready.
Okay, can you hear me? Am I coming in clear?
Yes,
Okay, are we ready to begin?
we are.
All righty. All right, welcome everyone to the Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged, CTD, public workshop. The purpose of this two-day event is to receive presentations on the projects that are currently being funded under the CTD Innovative Service Development Grant, better known as ISD. My name is Robin Tellez, and I'm the chair of the ISD Grant Subcommittee. The subcommittee is responsible for reviewing the applications and recommending projects for the commission approval in the upcoming fiscal year. At this time, I'd like to ask our other subcommittee members to introduce themselves. Please remember to unmute your lines. Press *6 if you're participating by phone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to participate on this subcommittee. Who will go first? Is Kent here? Gabe? Please remember to unmute. What about Krista?
Krista said that she was here, but she had to step away for a second.
What
And
about Gabe and Kent?
I believe Gabe may be having somebody here in her stead, and I will go check on Kent while you can go ahead and go through the introductions or the welcome.
Okay. All right. So before we get started, before we move into the presentations, we'd like to go over the format for today's workshop. This year, the Commission ordered $4.9 million to test new innovative services that enhance mobility options for individuals who are transportation disadvantaged. 8 of the current ISD grant projects are eligible to reapply for funding for fiscal year 24-25. Today, we will receive presentations from 3 of those projects. Today's workshop is an opportunity for our commissioners and advisors to learn about the progress of their project. We've asked presenters to limit their remarks to 10 to 15 minutes to ensure we have enough time allocated for all presentations. And by the way, there were 4 presentations scheduled for today, but due to an illness, there will only be 3, and they will present tomorrow. While we encourage commissioners and advisors to ask questions of presenters, please hold those questions until the end of each presentation. If you're participating on the webinar, we encourage you to submit questions on the chat box. If we are not able to address all the questions during the time allotted for the speaker, we'll try to answer before the workshop concludes. This is a public meeting and operates under Florida government in the Sunshine Act. This meeting is being recorded, and all verbal, written, and text, i.e. chat box feedback, will be included on the record. We advise commissioners and advisors on the webinar not to communicate privately via chat box and any other board member in order to ensure discussions remain within the sunshine. We ask attendees who are not presenting to please mute your lines. During the presentations, we'll only accept questions from commissioners or advisors. However, we will provide an opportunity for public comment at the conclusion of all presentations. No action will be taken by the commission today. However, these presentations will be considered as part of the subcommittee's review of the project is reapplying for funding for the next fiscal year grant cycle. I request that all commissioners and advisors stay to the end of each of the two-day presentation as there may be additional questions. So before we move on to our first speaker, David, do we have any commissioners, or should I say subcommittees members on?
So I did speak with Kent Carroll. He had another meeting, but he said he would be on shortly. And then I know Gabe had mentioned that she would possibly not be able to make it, but that she might send someone from DOT. I don't know if somebody's on. It might be good just to check in also. Do we have any other commissioners who are not on the subcommittee but are members of the commission on? Okay, so what we'll do, just to let everyone know on the presenting side, that we have this meeting recorded. We have shared the copies of the PowerPoints to the commissioners and the subcommittee members. We will post it obviously on the website afterwards. But the subcommittee members will review this information as part of the review when we get to May, when we're doing the review of the applications. So just letting folks know that they will have access to that information. I think that's all, Commissioner Tellez, if we want to move into the presentation side.
Okay. Our first speaker is Chris Stephenson, presenting Senior Resource Association, SRA, which is the CTC for Indian River County, who will be presenting the ISD project serving both Indian River and St. Lucie counties. Chris, please unmute your line, press pound, not pound, *6 if by phone, and please indicate when David should transition PowerPoint slides. After Chris has completed his presentation, we'll invite some questions, and if we want to use the chat box, we can do that as well. So welcome, Chris.
Hi, Commissioner Tellez. Can you all hear me?
We can.
Great. So thank you so much for inviting us to speak on our ISD grant. We're very thankful for the trust the commission has put in us this last fiscal year, and we're excited to talk about it. So you can go to the next slide, David. So the Treasure Coast Advantage Ride program, we are currently being awarded $1.5 million, and that's for a 2-county region that we are spending those dollars. It's Indian River County and St. Lucie County here on the Treasure Coast of Florida. You can go to the next one, David. And so just a little bit of history on our project. The Treasure Coast Developmental Mobility Advantage Ride Program actually began as a partnership back in 2020 between 2 different CTCs, the Senior Resource Association in St. Lucie County, and we also had agreements with the Florida Developmental Disabilities Council out of Tallahassee and the Florida Commission for Transportation Disadvantage. So this is really a culmination of a lot of work and a lot of coordination that we have put into this project for a long time. And the goal of this project has always been to trip individuals with developmental disabilities. There was a big need on the Treasure Coast, specifically to help these individuals get to work. And so that is what we framed our project around, and we're very excited about how it has been performing. You can go to the next one, David. The goals of our 2023-2024 ISD grant were to provide 41,153 trips to the developmentally disabled, to have an unduplicated headcount of more than 600 passengers, to make sure all the passengers that had previously been on a wait list were no longer on that wait list, that we got rid of the wait list, and that 90% of our passengers would report a favorable evaluation of the service whenever we did our quarterly surveys. And so David, you can go to the next slide. So we're very pleased to report that we've got 2.5 months left in the fiscal year, and it looks like we're going to hit all of those goals. We're on pace to provide 42,000 trips. It's actually looking like we might go over 42,000 this fiscal year. We're on pace to have 1,537 unduplicated riders, so we're thrilled about that. We have eliminated the wait list. And as of our recent survey in March of 2024, the quarter that just ended, 94% of our passengers are reporting a favorable service evaluation. So we're really thrilled about the way the service is going. David, you can go to the next slide. And so this is just a breakdown of the ridership, the ridership growth that we've had on this program since its inception. Back in fiscal year 2021, when we started this program, those trips were funded through other funding sources. So the last 3 years that we've had the funding from the ISD, you can see we had 30,000 riders in 21-22. Then last year we had 35,000 riders, and this year we're on pace to do at least 42,000. So this program is growing, it's very popular, and we're very, very pleased with how it's going and how well it's being received in our community. By the end of this fiscal year, we will have done over 140,000 trips on the Treasure Coast through this program in the history of its program. So we're very proud of that. You can go to the next one, David. So some of the things that we did was, as soon as we found out we got that 2023-2024 grant award, we continued to make our promotional brochures, and we distributed them to a lot of homes, like group homes that dealt with the developmentally disabled. We talked to the ARCs in the Treasure Coast on St. Lucie County and Indian River County. We put a lot of things on social media. We had local media, like St. Lucie County had this news article that was in their newspaper. And then we also offered a lot of travel training at our local disability resource centers. That way, these people who had previously indicated that they were unsure about doing a program like this because they were worried that the drivers would not have the proper training and working with people with developmental disabilities. We wanted to take that fear away from them. We wanted them to feel confident that whoever they dealt with, whether it be someone on the phone, whether it be their driver, whether it be someone who rides the bus with them as an attendant, they'd all had the same training on working with people with developmental disabilities. And so that's one of the things that we ensured at the beginning of this program, was that everyone who touches a client in some way, whether on the phone or on the bus, all has had this very specific training. And that's really taken a lot of the cognitive dissonance that these passengers feel about riding this type of program. It's taken that away. And so that's why we think it's been so successful. You can go to the next one, David. And like I had mentioned, this program is part of a larger program that we get started in 2020 that's all along the 4 counties of the Treasure Coast: Indian River, St. Lucie, Okeechobee, and Martin County. So you can see the ridership numbers there. That's just for this fiscal year. How the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged has been a part of funding this small, or this piece of the puzzle that's part of a bigger pie, and it's been really successful on the Treasure Coast, and we're very proud of it, and we're very thankful to the CTD for how they've been partnered with us so we could have this bigger program, and it's gone very, very well, and we're very proud of the ridership all along the Treasure Coast, but specifically in Indian River and St. Lucie County, where the Commission has given us those grant dollars this year. And you can go to the next one, David. And so we just wanted to give some customer feedback from our most recent surveys. You can see on there, we had passengers saying they don't know what they would do without this program, that they've used all the door-to-door programs on the Treasure Coast, and this is by far the best one. They love the program. They'd have a hard time getting to work every night without it. And so what happens is some of these people, for example, work at the St. Lucie Mets, the minor league baseball team here, and the games sometimes go till 11 o'clock at night when public transportation isn't available. And so when someone previously wouldn't be able to get home from their work shift, now they are able to use the Advantage Ride program to schedule those rides and get home from selling hot dogs at the St. Lucie Mets and things like that. And so that's why we designed this program, was to help these group of people specifically with their employment trips, and it's been going very well. And so customers expressing that safety and ride availability and reliability are important to them, and so we always take that information and try and make sure that's the type of service we're providing. You can go to the next one, David. And so this next year, we are, like David said, we are going to apply for funding for this fiscal year coming up. And we are really going to be focused on the program sustainability. You know, we've been having these really high trip volumes here on the Treasure Coast that we've been very excited about, and we don't want that to go away. And so we are going to be focused this next year on what can we do to sustain this program, not just for the next year, but for the next 5 years, things like that. And so we've already started having conversations with multiple funding partners all during the legislative session, and they're ongoing. We're constantly out there trying to see what we can do, what rocks we can unturn to uncover more funding, so that this program that's been very successful here on the Treasure Coast can continue and have sustainability past this next fiscal year. And so it's one of the main goals of our next fiscal year, and it's something that we're really excited to see what happens with the future of this program. And we're just very thankful for the CTD and how they've partnered with us here in the last few years. And David, you can go to the next slide. And that is it. We will take any questions you have, Commissioner Tellez. And Karen Deagle, the CEO of the Senior Resource Association, is also on. And if you have any questions for her, she's also available to answer those as well.
Yeah, I'm putting a question in the chat.
Okay, so the question was about do any of the employers have feedback? So we do get a lot of employers that contact us and say, like, hey, I've got these individuals that work for me that have a developmental disability. Are they able to ride this program? And they're always so excited to find out about it, because something that had previously been a barrier to these places of employment is no longer a barrier for them. And so, yeah, all the feedback we've gotten from the employers has been super positive. St. Lucie County, actually, the county itself employs several of these people, and they are always letting us know how much they really like it and how much it's working for them. But we can always collect more of that. So the next question, it said something about ride data. What are you talking about? So the average trip we know is about 9 miles. The on-time performance we know is about 94% on time. We're really proud of our numbers. And over 20% of the trips are cross-county trips, so not just staying in St. Lucie County or staying in Indian River County, but crossing those county lines. And so we collect all that data, and if there's any specific data, you can ask about that, because we collect all that data very regularly, and we always try and make sure we have that information available.
Well, thank you, Chris. Are there any other questions? Please put them in the chat. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Great job.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate your support.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You guys are doing a great job. I worked with that population for many years, and having a job makes such a big difference for them socially as well as every other way. So continue the great work.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker is Jorge Fuentes, representing City of Tallahassee Star Metro, who will be presenting the project serving Leon County. Jorge, remember to unmute and indicate when David should be transitioning the slides.
Good morning, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, thank you all for the opportunity to be here. My name is Jorge Juan Puente Sanchez, but Jorge Puente, and I work for Star Metro, and I'm here to talk about the Dial Ride Options Program. But again, thank you, Commissioners, for this opportunity. And so, next slide, please. I really want to talk to you first about how this options program began. And so it really started with an idea. The idea was to utilize transportation networking companies to supplement the overburdened paratransit services with same-day transportation options. We saw it in a lot of other municipalities, and so we thought this is a great idea for Tallahassee. And so that idea then turned into a goal. And the goal is to add a new transportation service mode that makes flexibility paramount, and improve customer satisfaction for our paratransit clients. So the idea went into a goal, and then the goal materialized into an action, into a series of actions. On April 2022, the new on-demand pilot program was approved by the City of Tallahassee City Commission. And then on July 2023, after lengthy negotiations with would-be TNCs, we landed with a contract with Uber. And at the same time, we were awarded technically the second year of the ISD grant award for fiscal year 23 to 24. And so, right, we hit the ground running with August 2023 by starting the beta testing period of the new options program with select customers and with our partner Uber. And then now where we are on April 2024, we are on a soft launch of the new options program and applying for a second year of funding. Next slide, please. And so let me tell you a little bit about the program basics, how the program works. Our current outright customers can participate in a new options pilot program by opting in with approval from Star Metro. And they can download the ride-hailing app from the participating TNC, in which case this is Uber at the time. And then they can create an account, they can request their own rides as needed on the app, and then they can pay the regular $250 fare. And so before they accept the ride, they will see if the trip goes beyond the $250 fare plus the subsidy, which is around $16. And then they can know if they have to pay a little bit more than that. But we have more information about how much the subsidy covers the trips. But all that on the same ride-hailing app. And then also the participants with wheelchairs or without smartphones can call our customer service team, and they can connect and request a same-day ride. That's why the word connect there in the third bullet point. They could connect with our customer operations, wheelchair, or any person who doesn't feel comfortable with a smartphone. Next slide, please. And so this program has been running for the last 6-7 months. And so the program statistics that we have is that this 46 participants have produced 1,831 Uber rides. And so the average cost to Star Metro per ride is $12. And on 80% of the rides, the customer has only had to pay the $250 fare. That means that what we're seeing is a subsidy correctly covers the vast majority of the trips. And so about 30 rides per month are billed to the ISD. And this number is steadily increasing since we're adding more people every time. We're just being very careful with how many people we control, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But the remaining rights have been funded, come out of the general funds. And so a key piece of data that we've seen is that the participants take 25% less trips on traditional paratransit when Uber rides are available. Next slide, please. And so in the pilot, when we launched it, we had some expectations, and they were increased customer satisfaction, increased on-time performance, increased system capacity and reliability, and then a decrease in missed trips and same-day cancellations, a decrease in customer complaints, and a decrease in unnecessary service calls. And next slide, please. And so the actual pilot impacts that we've seen are an increase in customer service satisfaction. At 72% of our hold outright program, we're seeing a remarkable 16 percentage point increase on the options pilot customer satisfaction, and Uber on-time performance of 100%, and then an average system-wide increase of 1.4%. Our capacity has increased slightly. Before the options program, there were around 11,284 trips per month. And now we're seeing around 11,000 plus the 305 rides that they have been produced by the options participants. So a little bit of an increase there on the system capacity. Next slide, please. And so in this one, I really want to tell you something that maybe it's not tangible, but I do want to stress the feedback that we're getting from our customers. And so I'll read it out for people. I'll read it out. This program is a godsend. It allows for the sudden life needs and wants that those who are able to provide their own transportation are able to enjoy and for which they benefit. I feel almost equal on the road to sighted peers. I can't begin to thank you enough for allowing me to be a part of the beta testing the options program. Personally, I was able to make it to an unexpected medical appointment, accomplish some absolutely necessary time-sensitive banking, and even go to lunch with a friend. And then the third feedback that we got, not only there's more, but on this slide, Options is a miracle service for which many of us have been dreaming about, and it has finally arrived. It certainly prevents a great deal of stress, more independence. So what we're trying to capture here is a quality of life increase, like the other presenter was talking about, but in our case, we're really allowing the person to have a normal life. And that's what we aim to be to have this program, to provide that flexibility. Next slide, please. And so we have learned with the 6-7 months now that we're running this program, we want to communicate to all transit agencies who want to do it to start early. The legal component when establishing a contract takes a lot of time, especially with the contract language, liabilities, insurance, and so forth. All contracts are not created equal. We took the case of piggybacking from the PSTA contract. And so now that contract is going to expire. So we need to make sure that we have our own contract in place. And so we want to work closely with other city departments so that, resource management or your treasury would know ahead in advance how much this program is going to cost, right? And the devil's in the details with TNCs. They are very particular about the data. I think you've heard this before, but even when it's under contract, the data is very hard to extract. For example, addresses. They like to provide lat longs, but the addresses are sometimes very hard to get from them. And then you want to verify the funding beforehand. For the above reasons, not all grants and agencies are willing to fund the TNC trips because of the oversight or because how TNCs are still brand new to all the other modes. So next slide, please. And so talking about a little bit about TNC's data and money, and the invoice reconciliation process with the TNCs is vastly easier. I will say that the Uber for Business web portal is very easy to use, and you can download that data. It's on a web portal. You can download the data the day after if the month has passed, and you can download that data, and it will give you very good information about the origin and destination trips. And so currently, the ISD grant invoice accommodates latitude and longitude locational data. There is a cost associated with converting addresses in bulk through our GIS. And so we want to slip in this question to the staff: will latitude, longitude, locational data continue to be acceptable outside of the ISD grant for a long-term program? Because we're already thinking of how to make this program sustainable. We'll talk about that in 1 second, but is this going to be allowable on a trip and equipment grant in the future to provide, instead of addresses, locational data? So that's something that we're learning and we're trying to answer. Next slide, please. And so again, the program sustainability, we want to make sure that we're looking at the parameters, since this is such a good program to have. And we're looking at maybe establishing at least 6 months of the RI eligibility to make sure that we want to see a history of trips, and we analyze preventable no-shows or late cancellations. We're taking those parameters into consideration. And then also the monthly same-day ride allowance. Currently, people have 16, our customers have 16 trips per month. And so we're looking to make sure that we look at how many we allow, because if somebody wants to take all the trips that they can per month, that really leads to a very volatile invoice for that month. And we want to streamline the program management and policy enforcement, standardize customer communications, and then the Uber on the web portal and communicating with them weekly and monthly. They are working on new features that will decrease the redundant client communication and less staff time work on just managing the program. So they have been very good partners. And we are in the future combining our request for proposal that has both same day and next day, and that service provider can choose both or one. And then we are including the same day paratransit in Star Metro's long-term technology plan, maybe creating our own app. Let's see about that. But we're really thinking of how to make this program permanently in the future. Next slide, please. And so what are our next steps? We want to continue the soft launch. We want to collect participant feedback, fine-tune program parameters, and that new participants referral. We want to expand the program little by little because we are setting the expectation correct. And so we want to do a full program launch in the future with mass mail invite. and letters, brochures, earned media, social media, all types of media, and then the tried and true word of mouth. So that's it for my presentation. Are there any questions? I think the program statistics are a good slide to have while we're asking for any questions. We're waiting for any questions.
Thank you, Jorge. Are there any questions from the commissioners? Any questions from the subcommittee members?
So there was one question on the chat, and it was, what does the TNC use? I think the question is, what do the vehicles the TNC use? And so the TNC in question, Uber, currently uses regular sedans or SUVs. Remember that those are private vehicles. And so we are really trying to put a case of how many wheelchair trips are happening, requesting this service, so we can have not an issue, but try to say it really is worth your time to have a real wheelchair capable vehicle on our county. So to answer your question, ambulatory vehicles now in the moment, and we're trying to transition that to say, okay, we have enough demand to bring a wheelchair capable vehicle in Leon County.
Jorge, this is Kent Carroll from APD.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick question. I know you mentioned earlier about individuals being able to access this service through an app.
Mm-hmm.
Those persons who were not able to do that, or for whatever reason, they could go on a website and also access that way. Do you know how many folks access it online rather than through an app?
Right. Excellent question. It's a minority. I would say right now, because we have such low level participants, we're seeing around single digits trips that are occurring by connecting through our customer operations number. But I'll tell you the truth. Everybody really enjoys the service, regardless if it's Uber or our own service providers. And they do have ways of connecting. Now they figured out how to use the service, because some part of our clients don't ever use the service even after they're enrolled in the options program. We need to communicate to them like, hey, you're available to you've entered the options program, and we really want you to use it. And so we want to make sure that they understand that they can call in and they can get a yellow cab or an Uber yellow cab by calling in. Those are the minority.
Does that answer your question?
Not really.
Kent, did that answer your question? I think you're muted.
I'm sorry, what was that now?
Did he answer your question?
Yes. Thank you, Jorge.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a few more questions in the chat.
I'll read them. How much were you awarded with 2 months left in this grant cycle? Where are you in meeting your goals? And we were awarded, I believe, $78,000. We're currently invoicing much less than that. And we are inviting newer individuals per month toward the program. I want to take advantage of that question to make sure to remember that we are making sure that we want to have the program sustainable, to make sure that once the program gets off of the ISD, we want to have a home for the program. And so the permanent funding is a question for us that we're looking at examining. But we are adding new people every month. And so expect higher invoices, and that's how we're going to reach the goals that we set.
Thank you, Jorge.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just jump in real quick? Folks that are putting questions in the chat box, we really appreciate that. What we would like to do is, for this point, reserve that for the subcommittee and the commissioners. But what could we ask our presenters, if you are able to stay till the end, we'll have a public comment segment where we can have that additional dialogue, if that works for the presenters. So that way we can just ensure we keep our time since we have a short timeline here.
The last question that was put on the chat was, do you partner with DMV and tax collector for marketing? We don't. We currently don't partner. So that was the last question that was on the chat box.
Thank you, Jorge. I'd like to first of all thank you for all of your hard work, and I think that the most challenging part is really just not just the only, but the contracting. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am. The contracting stage really took a long time. That's something that we learned.
Okay, wonderful. I'm sure you have a lot to contribute to those who would have a similar program, but thank you so much for your time and your presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, our next speaker is Lamar Hobbs from Bay County, BOCC, who will be presenting on their ISD project.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity to present today, and we certainly appreciate the TD staff helping us through this process and helping us prepare for today's presentation. Everybody able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. All right, next slide, please. So in Bay County, we originally started this program a couple of years ago, and one of the problems that we fell into was that we only limited it to a certain part of our county, and we found out at the end of that program, or at the end of that year, that was really not conducive to what our ridership needed. So we actually in this year expanded it to be county-wide. And so I think you're going to see, as we go through this presentation, you're going to see a lot better results, because I think it accommodates our ridership a lot better than it has in the past. Today, I just want to go over a few things we're going to talk about. We're going to give you an overview of the project, talk about some key features of the project, how exactly people are able to ride using our Bayway On Demand plus Uber. We're going to provide you year-to-date activities, some results from the program thus far, our marketing efforts, talk about our budget, talk about our lessons learned, because we feel like that's been a big issue, particularly in what's prevented us from really excelling with this program sooner than where we're at now. And then, of course, we're going to talk about next steps as we continue the project, or hope to continue the project going into the future. Next slide, please. So just to give you an overview, Bayway On Demand is a new service integration with the collaboration from Uber. It's aimed at enhancing accessibility to public transportation in our community. One of the things that we were very particular about is as we started hearing feedback from our ridership over the years, not just since the launch of the program, but just over the years, is the need for having easy and quick accessibility to transportation, not something that they were going to have to reserve, wait 24 hours to actually get a booking and go through the process, but something that allowed them the ability to book randomly when they needed it, and so that they could actually become kind of fall back into society just as they were before they had a need for transportation, or before they became transportation disadvantaged. So that was kind of one of the focuses that we had when we went into this program, and that's kind of what our focus is now. This initiative is designed to supplement our fixed route service, offering individual rides within Bay County Monday through Saturday between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So our current fixed route service primarily operates in our urbanized area, and we wanted to make sure that we met the need of those people that were living in our more rural areas of the county, and provide them the same access to public transportation that the people living in the urbanized areas have as well. The Bayway On Demand Plus covers the cost of the ride with Uber, requiring only a $1.50 copay from the rider at the time of their they schedule their ride. So essentially, it's just like getting on the bus. You get into that Uber car, you pay the driver the $1.50, or pay it through the app, I'm sorry, and then we cover the rest using the TD funds that we're allotted to pay for this program. So it makes it real convenient for the rider, makes it real convenient for the Uber driver, And so far, we've seen really positive results from that so far. And then users are required to complete or have on file a standard TD eligibility application. So obviously, with these being TD eligible riders, they must have a TD eligibility application on file with us. And so far, that's been very easy to get. We've actually found several more that are actually now applying for TD eligibility. Now that we have Uber and we've started to market the service out there, we're finding that there are more people that actually meet the criteria are actually submitting their eligibility application and actually taking advantage of our TD program. Next slide, please. So a little bit more in the overview. Eligibility applications can be obtained by calling our customer service representative here at Bayway. We allow you to access it using our website. We also have partnered with social services departments at local hospitals and student services departments at local colleges. This is something we're very proud of. Over the last few years, we've built a great relationship with our local state colleges here, Gulf Coast State College and Florida State University, Panama City campus. And then we started hearing from our medical community, if you will, that there was that a lot of their clients were reporting that there was a inability to get transportation to and from medical appointments. So as we started researching that, we wanted to go out. We started making contact with our local hospitals, finding out what those barriers were and how we could help with those barriers. And we found out basically that essentially there was a lack of knowledge amongst many of their clients that our TD program was available and out in the community. So we wanted to make sure that we focused on it, provided the people that are going to be coming in contact with these customers or potential riders with the ability to access the TD application and access our rides. And so far, that partnership has been very nice and continues to be a very successful partnership today. Once the rider's eligibility has been approved, they are notified and can immediately begin scheduling the ride. So it's, once that TD eligibility application is approved, they're immediately notified. They can literally begin taking rides that day. And in a lot of cases, we found that the riders are actually taking advantage of it as soon as they're notified of their eligibility requirement. Then riders can schedule their rides in real time using the Bayway Flex app, the Uber app, or by calling the Bayway office and speaking with a customer service representative. I think the thing that we're most proud of is the integration of our Bayway Flex app. It is an easy way for people to book their rides. And we find that it's a lot less difficult to access public transportation by using the Bayway Flex app. Our riders have been very ecstatic about it, and we're really proud to have added that into our program this year. Next slide, please. So let's talk about some key features. So we want to talk about flexible scheduling. That's one of the things that we really were looking at improving as we continued this partnership with Uber, and that was being able to allow people to have the ability to get public transportation when they needed it. And I think we've accomplished that. Riders essentially can request rides Monday through Saturday, anytime between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. That's the same times that we operate our fixed route service. So if you have a TD rider that potentially wanted to also access our fixed route transportation, they could do that easily by having the Uber driver, or if they're taking one of our demand response vehicles, drop them off at one of our transfer points, and then they could easily access other parts of the county with using our fixed route service. We offer same-day service now. Riders now have the option to schedule same-day service, offering unprecedented flexibility and convenience. Collaboration with Uber through a strategic partnership with Uber, Bayway On Demand Plus leverages the extensive network of Uber drivers to enhance transportation accessibility across Bay County. So in Bay County over the last few years, we've primarily seen a large growth in Uber related drivers. Now, I know that there are other TNCs out there, but in Bay County right now, Uber seems to be the primary TNC that people are utilizing and has the greatest footprint in Bay County. So right now, the partnership that we have with Uber is the only one. We are looking at potentially partnering with other TNCs that are in our community now, such as Lyft, and so that we can continue to expand that network and increase that accessibility as we move forward. And then finally, affordable pricing. Riders can enjoy the convenience of Bayway On Demand Plus for just $1.50 copay per ride, making it an affordable transportation solution for all residents. And just something that kind of speaks near and dear to my heart when we talk about affordable pricing is when you get out into the community and you start talking to people and they've had either a traumatic life incident, what I'd call, or their parent or loved one has gotten to a place where they can no longer take care of themselves, transportation becomes a major issue for those people. And a lot of people don't seem to comprehend that until they're placed in that situation. So one of the things that we found is their loved one or this person that had this traumatic event are now confined to some sort of mobility device. Well, how do you get around if you're in a mobility device and you can't walk on your own anymore? Well, the options are very limited, and the options that are out there are very expensive for those people. So if you're wanting to continue to integrate in society and become and maintain the same lifestyle you have in the past, it just doesn't work when you're having to pay $59, $69, $79 a ride, and that's a trip to access vehicles that have ADA accessibility. So by giving these riders the opportunity to pay the $1.50 and have a program that the TD Commission has sponsored like this, pay the remainder, really has gone a long way to help our population reintegrate themselves into society, especially after they've had such a traumatic incident. And so that's something we're very proud of. Next slide, please. So let's talk about how to ride. You heard me talk about the Flex app and the fact that we're very proud of the Flex app. So essentially, once you're approved as a Bayway On Demand Plus rider, or you're what we call TD eligible, you simply just have to download the Bayway Flex app to access the service. And we have a multitude of documentation that we can provide to those people that explains to them the process for downloading the app, how they can easily access it, what they have to do once they get on it, a ride guide, if you will. We also have videos that are available that allows people to easily access or understand how to access the app and how to use the app as well. Request a ride. Open the Bayway Flex app, and simply all they got to do, they select their pickup and drop off locations. They schedule their ride by choosing the vehicle type. So we obviously offer two types of vehicles. You have Uber, or if you need an ADA accessible vehicle, you can choose to ride one of the Bayway On Demand vehicles, which we have available during the same time frame and available immediately upon request. So there is no more having to wait 24 hours if you're choosing to take this program. It's available to you immediately. But I will tell you what we have found is a large majority of our on-demand or our TD eligible riders are choosing to take the Uber choice. And so much that we've even found several of the riders that are actually in wheelchairs taking Uber, and they're folding the wheelchairs up, putting them in the trunks of the cars, and able to get the driver to assist them to get in the car and get to where they need to go. We thought that was very interesting that was one of the things we found, and but we've had several riders do that. So we're excited about the fact that people are in fact being able to use Uber regardless of what their limitation might be. Next thing is pay and ride. Pay the $1.50 copay through the app, track your ride in real time, and board when your ride arrives. So we have a lot of people that are concerned with their loved ones taking public transportation. So we allow them through the app to be able to track that ride. It lets them know exactly where they're at, where they're going, who their driver is going to be, what the vehicle is going to look like. And a lot of those things works to alleviate a lot of the stress on loved ones or on the rider themselves about anything that potentially could happen to harm them or cause them any kind of conflict, making sure they get to work on time. And we found that people really appreciate that. For those needing assistance or preferring to pay in cash, Bayway provides dedicated support via phone at our main number, the 769-0557. We have found that since we've introduced the app, our request for assistance over the phone has gone down tremendously. People are able to utilize the app. It's not hard. It's very simple to use. And we have found simply that people are choosing to use the app once they figure it out. And it has really helped us in terms of the number of calls that we have to take each day, and allows those staff members that typically would be answering phone calls throughout the day to focus on other things like getting eligibility applications approved more quickly, or dealing with any kind of customer service issues that might arise. Next slide, please. So let's talk about our year-to-date activities. So originally we had a contract with Uber. That was when we originally started the program. That our contracts with Uber are extended out just through the grant time frame. So June 30th of each year is when they expire. So we had to extend that agreement on out to June 30th, 2024, which is currently what we're working on now. We went back and looked at the service area. Originally, we were only focused on a rural section of Bay County that went up 231. And what we found is the large majority of our ridership didn't just need access to that part of the county. They needed a county-wide access. So we opened up the service area to include all of Bay County, not just that one specific rural area. And since doing that, we have found that ridership has substantially increased. So we integrated Uber's transportation network into Bayway's microtransit platform called Spare Open Fleet. So, and I'll talk a little bit about this in our lessons learned as we continue on, but our integration with Spare has been phenomenal. We have really found that they have been able to make things very easy for us in terms of reporting, in terms of access to our app, and those types of things. So made it a lot easier than what someone might find as opposed to just using the Uber app itself. And as I said, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go into lessons learned. Establish the Bayway Flex app so that riders can easily schedule and pay for their rides in real time. So
sorry to interrupt you. Just to let you know, we're approaching 15 minutes here. So is there just to kind of wrap it up so we can get to the questions and answers? Sorry.
Okay.
Good job.
All right, let's go to the next slide. So just really quick, I wanted to provide you the results that we had at the time we presented this, and I'll provide you some updated. So at the time we presented this for today's presentation, we had a total of 3,532 trips provided. As of today, that number is now at 4,675. The number of trips that were scheduled, you can see that the Uber app has been the primary source of accessing these trips. Bayway Flex app coming in second, and then the call center, we've had one call. And then the number of trips provided, the majority of the trips provided have been in using an Uber vehicle. And to date, we've had 5 people take ridership in our Bayway vehicle. Next slide, please. This just gives you a real quick overview of some statistical data that we've been able to glean from the program so far. I think the greatest thing we're proud of is that on-time performance at a 98% achievement rate, and we're really proud of that. Next slide, please. So these are just some marketing efforts. We'll move through these things real quick. We've marketed this program through our website, allows people to easily access the application and also the app. Next slide. We've issued a bunch of e-blasts to both current and potential future riders using the local social media that we have. Next slide. We continue to offer digital ads that talk about the Bayway Flex app and how easily people can access a ride using the app. Next slide. This is one of the things that we're most excited about. And this is our Bayway On Demand door hanger that we put in our on-demand buses that allows, it goes up where the riders can hold on if the stabilization bar, whatever I can't recall what you call it right off, but people can snatch it and take it with them when they exit the bus, gives them an opportunity to learn about the program with Uber. Next slide, please. And this is our Bayway Flex app. We talked about that a lot through this presentation. So we can move to the next slide, please. This just gives you an overview of what our budget looks like this year. $600,000 has come from the Transportation Disadvantage Commission. 10% to $74,000 has come from local cash, with our local project cost being around $743,000. Next slide, please. Lessons learned. The biggest thing I want to mention here is that there is a real need to separate from Uber in terms of the Uber dashboard, the Uber reporting modules. We find that getting that information that we need so that we can properly build the TD Commission just isn't what it needs to be. And that's why we've used another platform like Spare, because we find that getting the information we need is a lot easier and a lot more in depth in terms of billing to the TD Commission as well. Next slide, please. So what are we doing? We hope to continue the project. We hope to continue getting good performance measurements from this project. We're going to continue our marketing efforts, and then we're going to continue to report on the success of the program just as we are today. Next slide, please. And then that ends the presentation. David, I apologize for going over, but we're really proud of the program and wanted to share as much information as we could.
Well, thank you, Lamar. Thank you very much. Look like you guys are really excited about what you provided, and I really like the way that you shifted once you saw that there was a greater need to cover a wider area. I wanted to thank you very much for your presentation and your time. Before we move on to the public, I think we had some subcommittee members that were not able to join us in the beginning. Can you introduce yourself, Kent? If you can unmute.
Yes, I'm Kent Carroll. I'm with the Agency for Personal Disabilities. I apologize for coming on the call a little late, but I really appreciate the presentations that I was able to hear, and I look forward to moving forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Kent. Krista, are you here?
I am. Hi, I'm Krista Carter with the Florida Department of Elder Affairs. I serve as the liaison from the department, or the advisor from the department to the Commission for Transportation Disadvantage. And I want to say thank you for your presentations today.
And I understand that Gabe would not be able to help to be on for FDOT. Is there someone representing her on this call? Okay, well, we have the recording, so we will move on to public comments. We will now invite public comments from other members of the audience. If you are interested in speaking, please indicate in the chat box and our team will call your name. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Please direct your comments to the presentations and the ISD grant program. Speakers, please remember to unmute your line or press *6 if participating by phone. Please indicate your name, organization represented, and county residence for the record. Are there any public comments?
This is Sherry. There is a question in the chat box from Karen Smith, who is with Sunshine Line in Hillsborough County. And her question was, for the agencies using TNCs, how have they been able to get TNCs to provide drivers that meet 1490 requirements? So I don't know if any of the ones on, whether it's Bay or Leon or City of Tallahassee, can address that.
Sherry, I'd be happy to address that from our perspective. Essentially, what we find is if you're required, first of all, your Uber drivers are not going to meet the requirement of 1490, and typically you're going to find that your staff does not have the ability to go out and regulate these people to ensure they meet 1490. One of the positive things about using Uber is that you have a reduced price. You're essentially paying a lot less money than you would an ordinary transit operator to provide the same type of service. because they're having to do a lot more things like making sure the driver meets 1490. So how do you deal with that in terms of dealing with the public? So you offer them an option. You offer them an option of taking an ADA accessible vehicle that does, with a driver that does meet all of the 1490 requirements, but you also offer them the option of taking an Uber vehicle. And what we found is that most of the riders don't necessarily care about 1490 or all of the requirements that goes along with being a public transportation driver. They're more interested in getting where they need to get to quickly. And Uber has become such a standardized program now that most people have taken it in their on private lives. And so we're finding that 1490 is the only people that's really concerning is most of your, like your state, the Florida Department of Transportation, that type of thing. I hope I was able to answer your question.
I would ditto what you just said, Mr. Hobbs, and really the options program, in our sense, it's an above and beyond program that it's not complementary paratransit. It's something that is above and beyond that serves the whole county.
Okay, this is Sherry again, and she followed up with still again, Karen Smith, Hillsborough Sunshine Line. It was our understanding that it was required for trips funded by this grant, same as TD. And I think from things that we've heard, it is more that you're providing the option. And that's from our understanding how it either complies or doesn't have to comply. I don't want to say doesn't have to comply with 1490, but the options of either you can select whatever vehicle that's in the transit that's compliant with 1490, or you have the option to use the TNC. And those were the conversations that I've understood as well.
That's correct on our part, Sherry, that as long as you're giving them the option of either taking an ADA accessible vehicle that meets the requirements of 1490 or selecting Uber, you meet the requirement that you need to meet in order to have utilize TNCs.
If I may just piggyback on this for clarity, I believe we can have a conversation with FDOT, let them know that this question came up. But I believe when our conversations with them, it's been not necessarily 1490 it's more of the guidance from the federal side of the Federal Transit Administration that's coming in with this stipulation about choice. So we can ask them follow up, because I think this is a broader question than just the ISD grant, to get clarity on those requirements for other systems that are interested in exploring such a similar kind of project that Bay and Leon County presented here today.
This is Sherry again. There's one more question from Commissioner Tellez. Do TNC drivers receive any special training, especially special needs clients?
From our perspective, from Bay County's perspective, we do not require that the TNC drivers have any, excuse me, any specialized training as it pertains to special needs. Of course, we address any of those questions as they come into us. But when you're working with Uber, in terms of requiring any kind of specialized training or anything like that, with all your TNCs, you're just not going to find that that's a viable option, especially if you're wanting to pay or get that service at the rate that we're currently getting it at.
To answer that question, at least from the Leon County side, the answer is no, but that's why you have a robust customer service and a robust having a conversation with our participants until we ask them continuously, how are your trips doing and so forth. And we've had cases where there's an issue, not an ADA issue, it's just, hey, my trip didn't arrive, or my trip, and so we communicate with Uber to resolve that issue. And so there isn't really a specific training that they attend, but because Uber really cares, it seems, for the customer service feedback, and we personally go and ask the question with our participants, and we catch all the feedback that there is. And again, 99% of the feedback we receive, or even 100% to tell the truth, it's positive feedback about the actual mode service, how it's delivering the service.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any more questions? Well, if there are none, David, is there anything else we'd like to, before we move to close?
David, I have one thing for you.
Okay.
This is Ross Silvers with PSTA. Just to let you know, as you talk to FDOT, there is a new version of 1490 that has been drafted and waiting to be released for public comment and enactment. So I'd probably want to get into discussion about that because it is supposed to better address TNCs.
Sure, we can certainly talk with Gabe Matthews and her team for future discussions, certainly. First, thank you all presenters. I know that there was a lot of work that went in behind the scenes to put this together. And we're going to have a second part of this workshop tomorrow. So I think that's the only thing really, in addition information, as far as just they'll be the same time tomorrow at 9:30. And we'll have 5 of the project presentations.
Okay, so tomorrow we'll be wrapping it up after all of the presentations, and we just look forward to another great discussion.
Thank you, commissioners.
So would that be all? Until tomorrow?
Sounds
Okay.
right.
Okay, so until tomorrow it is. We'll see you at 9:30 tomorrow. Thank you again for all the participants.